Hello, how's it going? My name is Nate Lammy, and I am the PD and Sales Enablement Specialist at Flat for Education. Today, I'm going to be doing a presentation on how music education is for everyone and how Flat for Education empowers diverse learners. Before we begin, I want to do a little bit of a profile on the students here in Ohio. I did some research, I looked into some of the information that was available online, and I want to give a snapshot of what some of your classrooms might look like. Who are our students? On average, an average classroom student or an average classroom has between 29 and 32 students. Of those students, two of them are English language learners. 10 students fall below basic math and reading benchmarks. 5 students have an IEP. 15 students qualify for free and reduced lunch, and 1 student doesn't have access to internet at home. We have a very diverse level of needs in our schools. Besides these metrics, as teachers, you probably understand what your students go through every day in order to be prepared for class and to be excited to learn about music. We want to show you a couple tools that would benefit your students of all types in your classroom. But before we do, I want to show you how some of the common issues that music students or any type of student might struggle with in our music classrooms. How our students struggle. These issues include difficulty with transferable skills. So, how can I take my ability to read the notation and put it onto my classroom instrument? Difficulty interpreting said notation. Despite the fact that notation reading is already a challenge in itself, some students will just always struggle for a number of different reasons. Struggles with impulse control. I know personally, as someone who has ADHD, when I have my instrument in my hands, all I want to do is make noise. I struggle to listen to my director. Fine and gross motor control. Are your students able to effectively play the instrument that they have been assigned or that they want to play? Do they have adaptable tools and technology in their classrooms? Some of them might struggle from slower processing speed, despite the fact that they are trying just as hard as the rest of their classmates. They might have memory challenges. They might have sensory overload. Some have attention issues. Most, if not many, are going to be frustrated. And finally, your students may just be anxious. You might know a student as an educator who is all of these things, and yet we have a lot of work to do to make sure that they feel welcomed in our classrooms. I picked this quote when I was preparing this presentation, and I think it rings true about the diverse educators we have. The really fascinating thing is they can appear or are brilliant except for the one little tiny piece that is their disability. We focus on using their strengths and bypassing their difficulty. This was said by Dr. Alice Hamill, the author of Teaching Music to Students with Special Needs, a label-free approach. Importantly, here at Flat, we want to enable every teacher, every student, every musician to be able to make music that is beneficial to them and makes them able to express what they feel and what they think is going to be incredible music. And today, we're going to talk about how Flat can make adaptive lessons, we can nurture creativity, and we can differentiate the instruction that you give to your students. In order to do this, I asked some questions to some teachers in Ohio to say, hey, I'm going to be doing this presentation. I would love to hear your questions about how to increase accessibility in your music classrooms. And I pulled 3 great questions that I would love to share with you now. The first question I'd like to address is, what sort of tools does Flat for Education provide for supporting visually impaired students? We have a lot of tools at our disposal. I'm going to begin by showing you our ways to resize the music, as well as how to color code and change the note heads. So, in this example, which is just Old MacDonald for Boomwhackers, I'm going to begin by going up to the layout settings. In this menu, I have the ability to change staves, measures, measure numbers, note heads, and much more. As you saw, it's in the top right corner, but you can also get to this menu by clicking on the instrument and going to layout and styles. Here, I'm going to begin by going to measures. I'm going to change how many measures are there. In this case, I'm going to do 3. so they have a little bit more room. And I can also change the spacing of the measures or the notes themselves. Then I will go up to where it says staves and choose a different rastal size. If I choose a size like this, the notes get smaller, but down here at rastal size zeros, you can see the measures themselves are much bigger. I can also increase the amount of space that's in between each of these measures. This allows you, when you're printing out, to have space for students to write. It also gives you a chance to, if you wanted it smaller, to get more of your music on at this bigger size. You can also do that by switching this to be smaller as well. Beyond that, we also have options to change the note heads. So if I go down to note heads here, you will see that if I click on boom whackers, all of the pitches in my example switch to be synced with the boom whacker colors. If you are aware or have used boom whackers, you know that C is red. But if you don't use boom whackers and you still want to use a color code, if you click on custom, it will allow you to change what colors are on each of your notes. So if I want this pitch right here to be black, all of my C's turn into black. If I want D's to be blue, the D's are now blue. And if I want them to disappear like they are here, I can make them transparent. So this is another great option. So if you want to communicate with your student that, hey, I want every A to be yellow, that'll give them a chance to connect their choice with your music. And this will stay every time you open the custom. You can also change what's in the note head itself. So in this example, besides color coding, I can also change the notes to have the written letter. This is a great tool for any student who is struggling with notation and needs that extra support. They do not necessarily need to be visually impaired for this, but it will be a benefit to anyone who needs the letters. You also can use the Aiken shapes. You can also use solfege with either T or C. You can also decide if you want to use fixed do or movable do. Speaking of solfege, we have a tool that I'll show you in just a moment that allows you to have Kadai hand signs. Before I do that though, I do want to show that down here at text styles, if you wanted to have the fonts to be a little thicker, like maybe using a rubric, it does make the music a little thicker for students to see. This is a personal choice here. I like to leave it at century, but you are welcome to choose and change. As I said before, if I wanted to add my Kadai hand signs, I clicked on the instrument, and I'm going to go down to here, Kadai notation. If I click on this, set the hand signs, set the key signature to C, you will see that the hand signs appear in the music. So you are able to also use hand signs with your students. Along with your Kadai hand signs, we have a few more tools for visually impaired students and for students who have struggles with reading notation. If I was to move over to this example of one-note samba, you will see that I have quite a few instruments all happening at the same time. This page scrolling might be a challenge for some students, but if I switch the view to be this mode, it will scroll as if there are no page turns. The other features I want to emphasize here, and it is a weird smattering of recorder, ukulele, piano, and guitar, but if I click on R for recorder, I can also turn on automatic recorder fingerings. So when you are excited to write a new piece of music for your students and you want it to be custom made, you put a G, it gives you the fingerings. Same thing with C, and so on and so forth forever. For ukuleles, you'll notice that we have automatic tablature. So if I get rid of this note and I write a B, it will show me on the ukulele how to play that specific note. Same thing with A here. And if your student doesn't quite get the notation portion of it, they can also click in here and a fretboard will appear. I can then click on F and it will add an F in the notation and the tab. In this case, I want to add let's add another F again. Let's add a D. The same tool works for guitar. So in this case, I can either add the note here and create the tab, or add the note here, and it appears there. Finally, one more creative way you can use this, or use our platform, is when you have piano. If you are specifically having students work on piano and they're struggling to connect the notes to the keyboard, anytime something is lit up green here, it's also lit up green on the keyboard itself. So while this example is tough because it's all F, if I was to scroll over to the B section of this song and press the arrow keys, your students can see which notes are supposed to happen when. They can also hit play here and watch them scroll. Thank you. That's everything we have for visually impaired learners. Let's start talking about hearing impaired learners. So now let's move on to how we can help our hearing impaired students. This also benefits any student who needs to use audio while they're performing or while they're composing. So with it being a notation software, obviously we have the playback button. So if I wanted to hear what this sounds like so far as I'm composing, I can easily just hit play, and I can make an informed decision about what notes should come next in this example. So C, G, C. Maybe the right notes I should do are C, C, G, G, C. I can then click on my note, hit play, and assess if I like the way it sounds. It's a very common use of the playback option, but we have also the ability to sync up audio. If you were to choose a recording either on YouTube or an uploaded MP3, you can create lessons like this, where here, this is designed for a guitar class who is learning to improvise. You have your minor blues, you have your mixolydian. Once I hit play here and turn on the recording, I can hit play. And after a short lead-in, my students can play along with a guitar track and try to improvise. This is very easily done by finding your favorite YouTube video, going into this option, manage your recording, and when you open this up, you have the ability to leave dots along the play line where you would like the video to sync. Additionally, another great tool for students who have hearing issues or need to be able to listen back to their music is found when you use a performance assessment. Obviously, performance assessments are a great way to assess your students' ability to perform a song, but it's also a great chance for them to hear themselves before they submit. I'm going to click on Student Preview here so you can see it from the student side, and as it loads, I can show you that when I start my assignment, I get to select Start Recording, and you'll see the other version of me. I'll put on my backing track. I'll select my instrument first, then turn on my backing track. And I want the speed to be normal. As you saw, it creates the music for me. And when I hit start recording, I can record along with the backing track. When your students are done with their recordings, they can even hit play right here and listen to the recordings they made. They can see in the music where they were, they can hear what notes they were playing, and then when they're done, they hit save, and they can turn it in, or even just leave a comment. Recorded on Friday. Needs work. This allows your students to listen, give themselves feedback, and especially for those with hearing issues, hearing loss, they can take their computer, go into another room, and still practice and hear themselves better. Our next question that I want to address is a very fun one. How can I nurture creativity in students who do not fit the traditional classroom mold? I'm interpreting this question as students who are autistic or have physical disabilities that prevent them from performing in a traditional musical classroom or are otherwise challenged by our classroom formats. I'm the first to admit that when I was teaching, my classrooms were messy and they were loud and very frenetic. And if all of those things are happening, then you probably have a really excellent music education classroom. But those environments aren't always great for students who have autism or have sensory issues. So, I wanted to show a couple ways that you can attest to some of their needs or their accommodations using the platform as we have it. First and foremost, I want to show you a way to give students an options to be creative and meet your expectation in a way that you didn't necessarily plan. Composition tools and allowing students to compose what they want to is a great way for them to show you they understand without following your specific mold. For example, this activity, this composition, designed for third grade or any other grade level, is to go along with the concept of the Carnival of Animals. If you don't know about the Carnival of Animals, it's a great suite of music where Camille Saint-Saëns created songs that reminded him of animals. This one right here, The Aquarium, is great. It's very like black and white. Students will understand very quickly about what the Carnival of Animals was about. Then, as you can see, their assignment is to create a piece of music that appeals to their favorite animal, where you might describe to a student, hey, I needed to write a piece of music, and they might just get stuck. They don't know where to go, they don't know what would be a good start. But if you ask them, I need you to make a song about your animal that is at home, they might have a much better chance of doing so. So ask them, what kind of animal do you have? Oh, I have a big dog. So does a big dog make a lot of noise with its tail when it hits something? Ooh, I have a bird. Oh, does your bird caw and have a very beautiful sonorous voice? And let them create. Once they're composing, once they're creating, and they've made something beautiful they're proud of, that's when you can apply your criteria. Did they hit the quarter notes? Did they play all the notes that they were allowed to do? Did they compose something they were proud of? Did it follow the form? Because your students will be able to provide material to you. Your students will want to create, and they want to feel like everybody else. Another way that you can include them in other activities besides just allowing them to create and freely express is to assign them lessons or assign them activities where they are part of a team with students who are good models. In this case, the way we support that with Flat for Education is shared writing, where compositions are individual. Imagine giving a sheet of paper to one of your students. Shared writings allow you to give the same piece of paper to all students included. So, if you have a student who is struggling or is weak or is otherwise unable to keep up with their classmates in the way that you would imagine them to, when you create this assignment, you can use it in your class and assign your students in groups. This will give your student who might have a negative impression of themselves or otherwise doesn't feel included a chance to work with musicians who might be good models. A lot of times students who struggle and who are not at the same level or are otherwise not considered traditional are looking to be a part of the group as a whole. So by grouping them with their peers and giving them an opportunity to be a part of the whole, you give them the opportunity to be successful in a way they intended. Finally, for students who have sensory issues, maybe the room is too loud or there's too much going on and they need a quiet space, our assessments, our performance assessments are great for that. So, like I showed previously, when a student is using a performance assessment, they don't need to necessarily be in the same room as the rest of your students. You can send them to a resource room, you can have them go into the hallway, and they're able to do their assignment and submit work to you in an environment that best suits them. Maybe it's a practice room down the hallway, Maybe it's at home. Maybe it's with an instrument that is better fit for their physical ability to play. But assigning performance assessments is a great way to give your students a chance to show their musical ability without doing it in a loud or chaotic classroom. Our final question for the day is a really, really good one. How does FLAT speed up the process of assigning differentiated instruction to learners? I have a little bit more to tack onto this too, but this is a great, great question. So, in this case, let's say, for example, you wanted to take this notation guide and make it bigger, color code it, and assign it to your student. All of that can be done in about 2 minutes. So, right here is the one that has no edits yet. I'm going to go back to my score library. I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to click on that copy, which is right here. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to click on piano, go to layout and styles, get it to raster size 0, make the spaces bigger, or in this case, let's do about that big, and go to note heads, use rainbow, and note names. Really quick. Once this is done here, I have quite a few options. The preferred option is to make the assignment specific in FLAT using this new material. So if I go up to my assignments, I can find this one that I started, which already has this new guide in it, but let's just make sure. I'm going to add a work score, make sure it's the one I just did, and when I'm ready to assign it, instead of just saying done, I can send it to specific students. So let's say testing student here needs this differentiated education, but the other ones do not. This way, it appears in the student's stream the same way it would with others, So, another detail that is going to benefit your students is if for some reason your students need it to be less complicated, you can create tool sets here. These tool sets allow you to decide what is and what is not part of the score editor. For example, in this middle school tool set, I have allowed them to use the main abilities, so note input, copy and paste, undo, redo, but the only notes they have available to them are whole and half. Maybe this middle school is only doing long tones right now. If I wanted to edit this, I can add quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes, and maybe I also want them to be able to use percussion. So now this template is able to be used with my assignments. I can use the template so that way they're not being distracted by the multiple other options there. Now, beyond this, if you want to involve your special ed coordinators, your paraprofessionals, even your administrators in the wraparound process of supporting these students, we have ways to do that as well. In this example, if I go back to that score that I worked on, and I wanted this to be overlooked or looked over by my special ed coordinator, I can very, very easily hit the print button and send this over to my special ed coordinator and say, hey, can you take a look at this and make sure that it meets the student's needs? Even better, if your special ed coordinator is FLAT savvy, you can make the material and share the lesson with them so that way they can do it for you. I was very blessed in my past to have a special ed coordinator who understood the platform we used. So when I was done with a lesson, I could go to my assignments and shared assignments, and I could share my material among my staff. So in this case, I can click share, and the assignment I made appears on their dashboard. This works for any teacher who's in the same organization as you. So not just your special ed coordinators, but your fellow music teachers. So if you have a situation where you've had a student for 1 year and you know they're moving on to your colleague and you have some ideas of these are lessons that's worked with them, you can share them with them, almost like you're sitting in the same room as them. And that's everything. Thank you so much for viewing our video. I'm thrilled to have an opportunity to be part of your OMEA experience. I hope that you enjoyed what you saw, and if you have any more questions, we'd love to hear from you at our email, edu@flat.io. You can also scan this QR code here if you're a new user or a returning user and you want to take the 30-day free trial. This will bring you there, and you can see how the tools might work with your unique classroom. And if you send us an email, go ahead and let us know what you thought of the video. Maybe reach out to us and ask, hey, what else can Flat do? We'd be more than happy to chat, obviously. And we really, really hope that our tools and our platform benefits your students. We're here to help. Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you, and have a wonderful day.